Hello again, this is Ann Fillmore, and this is a short tour of my Writing 990 course. And if you already watched the Writing 900, it explained a lot about how I design my courses using modules, weekly modules, etc., and breaking things down daily. So I won't go into all of that again, but I did want to highlight an assignment from the 990 course, and I think I will do, let's do the art analysis, the visual art analysis. So that's weeks 3 and 4, and this really had to do with practicing those critical thinking skills and using the writing process. So the objectives for week 3 is to basically actively view, analyze, and critique visual images, implement strategies to think critically about topics, and practice modes of thinking through writing. Okay. And that was all in the book, so the book assignment, the book reading there. So here, as you'll see, the reading for the day, and students do this before class, so they come to class prepared, was to read 5 pages from this chapter on critical thinkings and annotate, okay, to share. I'm going to click next. This is what we talked about in class. So we talked about critical thinking, okay, because it's kind of a cliche term, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and we compared notes and annotations. We talked about the 3 kind of components of what we would be practicing for our next assignment, which is the visual art analysis, and those are listed here. And then we practiced with some advertising. Okay, so you can see we have some images here. Katy Perry and that. So they went through all of those steps, all of these steps with those images, okay? And that's good practice doing it with advertising, talking, purpose, audience, what is the, artist or photographer trying to say, what's the advertiser trying to say, target market, etc. So let's go back to modules. Okay. So again, we practiced with that on Thursday, and then kind of dove into the assignment. For the hybrid classroom, students were to go to the Folio website from Salt Lake Community College, so that's pulling up here, and kind of scroll through this artwork and choose a piece that they wanted to really think about for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so anyway, on the discussion board, they were to name the piece of art, the artist's name, and the reason for choosing it. And you can see these are some student posts right here about what they chose. So I thought that would be fun to put on the discussion board because we could see the variety and kind of personality there of the students. So that was week 3, the first week of the assignment. The second week, okay, was conducted the analysis. So over the weekend, the students took that artwork and broke it down into these categories. So they really took notes, kind of that first pre-writing stage of brainstorming. What do they see in these images, in this art? What questions do you have? What's there? What's missing? They did the interpretation, and then they did the evaluation. So they brought all of those notes with them on Tuesday on paper to class. Okay, and then we talked about them and we started making a plan. So in class here, let's see, oops, wrong week. We used the writing process. So we started planning out how we would write our analyses. The draft was due on Thursday because really they'd done a lot of the work, and this is when we did peer review. Also, they were required to visit the writing center for this assignment, and so that was the hybrid classroom, is basically going to the writing center, working with someone, and then we did a reflection. It was due the following Tuesday in class, and we actually reflected on that, but you can see the full assignment here. So it just goes over it again. Go to the website, choose an image. Second, they're going through the steps. They're using the writing process. It's about 2 pages, gives the specifics. And then again, there is the rubric. Notice the underlined thesis statement. I loved that part. It was great. And this was on paper as well. I wish I could show you because they're my favorite essays to read. In class, we also did in groups a reflection, and let's see if I can make this bigger for you to see. But just kind of had 10 questions for them to discuss in groups, fill out as a group. So there was, maybe 4 people in a group, and they kind of took notes on paper and gave me the feedback. So that was interesting because many people hadn't done any type of art analysis before. But that is just, I guess, a sample of one of the assignments we do in Writing 990. It's their first major writing assignment in that class, but I like using that because it's fun. It gets people talking and sharing. Oops. And it also introduces a lot of critical thinking that we can use the rest of the semester. So thanks for tuning in.